This is Gigi Sabat, and you're listening to Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Kathryn, and she's an author. Welcome to the show, Kathryn.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Such an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where are you from?
I am from London originally, but I now live in Nashville, Tennessee. So I travel around constantly. I've lived in all sorts of different countries. So it's good. Multicultural.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your mission to help children, Kathryn.
Really, my passion, my love is to really help children have a better footing in life, to be the strongest that they can possibly be, give them all the tools, techniques, habits that can really help make change in their life. So it's something that I feel like super passionate about, and it's really my sort of great love. And it's just something that I know children need, and it's why I wanted to create something that you could give to children, something with all of that knowledge all in one place. So whatever they're going through, they've got somewhere to go to know how they can get help, whatever they might need help with, anxiety, worries, whatever that might be. Then that's exactly what I wanted to create.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your children's book, My Mind Full of Happiness Guide.
Yeah, so basically what it is, it's a guide for children to use. It's not a book that you read from front to back. It's something that you can go through and read different sections at different times, depending on what you're going through. And it's got about 16 different modalities in teaching children all about meditation, the importance of prayer, the importance of affirmations, gratitude, vision boards, journaling, the flower of life, angels, all sorts of modalities that are in there that really help children overcome any situation. Doesn't matter what they're going through, what they've been through. It gives them very, very simple techniques and tools and things that they can introduce into their life that will make a difference. And it's done it all in one place. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create something that, as a parent, it gives you a tool to hand your child and say, look, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling, difficulty in making friends, or if you're feeling not very confident, this is going to help. If you're feeling sad, this is going to help. It sort of answers all of those problems that we as parents, we have for our children. So it solves a lot of the problems for parents and giving them the tools and techniques to go through.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about the tragedy that you experienced, Kathryn.
Yeah. So in 2011, my niece got murdered, and it was very obviously horrific. It was horrific and terribly sad for all of my family, every single one of us. It was terrible to experience something on such a, I mean, it's horrible to lose anybody young anyway, but to lose her in the way that we lost her, it has forever changed our family. And I think one of the worst things about it was that it affected all of the people in my life that I would have turned to usually if I would have been going through something, and also for everyone in my family, the same for them. So suddenly we're all sort of looking at each other thinking, well, how do we support each other when we're all going through our own turmoil? What are we going to do? So, and that's really when I turned to the tools, techniques, and everything that I teach in my guide, because I was somebody that practiced meditating. I was somebody that understood about earthing, and the huge difference what you put inside your body makes to the way that you feel, anxiety, worry, depression. A lot of those things can really honestly be solved just by drinking way more water, having less sugar, not processed foods, those and if you don't know, you don't know. So I really lent on that when that happened to me, but then I looked around at the children in my life and I was like, how am I gonna tell them all of this? First of all, I'm going through it, so I'm having to dig deep myself, but how am I gonna express the importance of all of these different modalities and the difference it's going to make in a way that they are going to understand and enjoy it? And I couldn't find anything that had all of that information in one place, which is why I went on to create it. And it took me years putting all of this information together, putting the knowledge together, because it's such a lot of information and it's so powerful, and I really wanted to make sure I delivered it in a way that children would understand. And also, I mentioned to you earlier, you know, the reason that it's not been done before in this way with every single different modality is because each modality is a life work, really. You know, somebody talking about meditation, or talking about the importance of energy and frequency, healthy eating, you know, it's so much knowledge. So I held hand with spiritual gurus and experts in their field who contributed to the guide and gave me their knowledge and shared it, so that the children are not they're getting so much information. It really is powerful. And because it's a guide, they can turn to the page that they need to find the help that they need with whatever they're going through. So it really does help parents in that way as well, because it gives them a place to go to. You know, they're feeling sad, go to this page, do these things, this will really help you. You're feeling anxious, right, let's do this. You're feeling lonely, okay, these are the things you can do to help yourself. You know, you've got all these feelings inside, journal them out. It makes a huge difference. So all of those modalities, like I said, in a place, and it's done in a fun way, you know, with fairies, and it's in a whimsical sort of fun way but in a way that they'll understand it.
Very powerful, Kathryn. Now, you mentioned your niece was murdered 10 days before your wedding.
Yes.
What would you tell someone else who has experienced the same thing, or know someone who has gone through the same thing?
I would say that I really believe that whatever you've been through, whatever you're going through, you absolutely will be okay. That was the one thing I wanted somebody to say. You're going to be all right. Because I was like, how am I ever going to like smile again? Like my niece, how am I ever going to sleep again without the sadness of it? How am I ever going to come through this? And we talked about it briefly before, about how you don't get to play trumps on sad. Sad is sad. You know, sad for me is what happened to me. Sad for you is what's happened to you. But with dealing with it in a way, with tools, techniques, putting yourself in a position to know that you can step forward and not just take that road of feeling sorry for yourself. It's really hard not to do. And I really understand how some people can easily fall down that road, but the only person you're hurting is yourself. You have to make sure that you can come out of that and smile again. Whatever cards you're dealt in life, good, bad, the ugly, it doesn't matter. There's no point looking over at what your friends got and, well, that's never happened to them. And it doesn't matter. This has happened to you. This is your deck. How are you going to play it? And you better come out strong, because you've probably got kids in your life or family members that are going to need you. And you've got yourself, who you should respect yourself. You should love yourself. And you should know that whatever reason you're going through it, and I do believe everything happens for a reason, for whatever that reason is, you'll come out the other side and smile. I promise you, because I've done it.
That's right. Very powerful. Let's talk about mental health. Tell us a little bit more about mental health, Kathryn.
Mental health is so important, and it's so wonderful now that there isn't the stigma that has been surrounded in the past. You know, people have felt uncomfortable about that, or they felt they don't want to mention if a family member has got mental health issues, or if they're dealing with mental health issues. You know, everybody on some level has some sort of mental health that they need to manage. Now, that might be, you just might meditate and that makes you feel better. It might be journaling out your feelings, as I was saying before, but your own mental health is absolutely paramount. Looking after yourself, giving yourself time, making sure that you have something as an outlet so you don't turn to something else. You know, these people, it's very easy, isn't it, to judge other people. Oh, they're an alcoholic. Oh, they take drugs. Oh, she was pregnant and she took drugs. That's horrific. That's the worst thing that anybody could ever do. But we don't know their path, and we don't know how they got to where they were going. We don't know that they had the tools and techniques to deal with their own mental health, you know. So we have to help everybody to give them all of these tools and these techniques. And your own personal mental health and the mental health of your children is absolutely paramount. So you have to find, as a person, what it is that you need. I turn to yoga every time. Yoga for me is a wonderful outlet. It gives me time for my brain to switch off. You know, it's great for my body. That then makes me want to eat healthier. I just drink tons of water. You know, it has all of these knock-on effects. And that's why mental health is so important, and to recognize it in yourself, in your children, and everybody around you that you love, and have compassion for it. I did mention this, and I'll mention it briefly now, but my other niece, who was Alice, it was Alice that was murdered. Her sister has had terrible PTSD from it, and even now, 11 years on, she's still dealing with the after effects of losing her sister. They were very close in age, and her mental health issues, we as a family have come together, and what my sister has done with her and helped her through this is unbelievable, and it's amazing, and it's really important that we give children these tools now, because they're dealing with things that we didn't have to deal with. Pandemic, social media, that children's suicide is something that is in the, that's a conversation that people are having. How did we ever get to a society where a 10-year-old takes their life because they're bullied? How did that ever happen? So we and make sure that we help our kids in the best way that we possibly can, and this is my little contribution to doing that.
That's right. Great advice, Kathryn. Now, you mentioned PTSD. What message do you have for folks experiencing PTSD, or if they know someone who has PTSD?
Talk about it. Tell people about it. Go and get help, because it's not something to be ashamed of. It's nothing it's not embarrassing. It's nothing to be that you want to hide under the carpet. It's something that you absolutely can, and you can get help with it. And there are a lot of people, there's a lot of associations out there that are willing to listen to you, and also reach out to somebody that you love, because sometimes people with PTSD, they'll hide it, and then it comes out in other ways. Maybe you'll become aggressive, or maybe you're very withdrawn and depressed, or maybe you end up harming yourself or using other tools to deal with it, alcohol, drugs, whatever that might be. But sometimes it's just a case of reaching out and talking to somebody about it, having no shame about it. We all at some point are going to go through things in life that we're going to need some help with. And PTSD, dealing with a trauma of something that you've experienced that then has caused it, there's no shame in that. Go and get help and talk to somebody. That would be my definitely my best advice. And if my other thing would be, and I always go on about this, but eat the right foods. Really look about what you're putting inside your body, because that really has a huge effect on your mental health. The sugar that we put inside us, the processed food, again, that's something that our children are dealing with that we didn't have to deal with. So, but that would be my biggest takeaway would be go and talk to somebody. I think you'll be surprised at how many people will be willing to listen and willing to help. And if you don't have that person, look it up online. There's lots of charities and people that are willing to help you.
I love it. Now, Kathryn, tell us, how important is prayer?
So important. So I mean, there is so much. I mean, I've heard it said so many times, and now I say it, the power of prayer. I mean, there's a few levels here, but the power of prayer, I mean, first of all, just it's going to make you feel, it's an outlet for you. It's you having a connection. It's you having somebody that you feel is listening to you. So that's powerful in itself. Also, it really does work. Prayer is an absolute, and I'll stand by this. Is if you believe in energy, if you believe in thoughts become things, if you believe in all of those things where there's power in your words, like there's, you've got the word words. Well, it's the word sword with just the S at the end of it. That because your words are like swords, and however you use your words, that has that power, and you can use your sword to be powerful and impactful, or you could use it to harm others or yourself. So the power in your words and your prayers and everything that you're saying is so powerful. Energetically, it makes a massive difference in your life. And if you join together, and if you do become together as a group and you pray together, you can make miracles happen. And that's people think I'm crazy when I start going on about this, but I mean, I'm sure you can talk about this better than I can. But I get so excited about it, because once you start introducing it into your life, and you have that beautiful, that spiritual belief and that faith and that knowing that is so comforting, because you'll never feel lonely if you know that you have that, and that if we only knew how powerful we were, if we only knew, then we could really move mountains together. And that's why, and I said this to you before, we better all hold hands and help children. We better all pray together and make big change, because we absolutely can. That is a scientific fact.
Right.
And a spiritual one.
That's right. I love it. Very powerful. Now, Kathryn, earlier when you and I spoke, you talked about two paths folks can take when they experience a challenge. Talk to us a little bit more about those paths.
Yep, you get two paths. You get the sorry for path, where you're feeling desperately sad, and it's very easy to feel a victim, or why me, why did this happen, I'm feeling so sorry for myself, and drowning yourself in tears, or turning to things that aren't healthy for you. Or you can literally say, this is my path. This is the path that I've been shown. This is the one that I've been given. No, you don't ever really know what anybody else is going through. You never really know the path that other people are having. So there's no point feeling jealous about anybody else's, because it's definitely most probably not what you think it is. So concentrate on your path, and concentrate on making your path the best that it can possibly be. And you can do that. I've been through, I lost my niece. I lost my best friend 2 years later. My mum is now going through, is incredibly sick at the moment, and it's devastating. But I can't sit here and feel sorry for myself, and I won't sit here and let life pass me by. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And I have decided to choose to be happy. And I've decided to choose that those things happen for a reason, for me to learn, to become better, so that I can share this message, so that I can help other people, so that me as someone that's been through terribly sad things, really terribly sad things. I mean, we also had, I'll tell you something else we had that was horrific. I went through a terrible lawsuit for a couple of years as well. So I've really been through every sort of form of grief or worry or money or all of those things. You can come through it. You can get to choose the happy path. You can smile again. You are powerful, and you've got the ability to do it. And you've got support spiritually, emotionally, if you can control your emotions and use these tools and techniques. So choose the happy path, whatever it is, because the only person you're hurting is yourself.
That's right. Choose the happy path.
Choose the happy path.
God has a purpose for everyone's life.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Kathryn, you mentioned that you lost a loved one due to cancer. What would you say to someone who's experienced the same thing?
It's so sad. It's, my mum's going through it at the moment, and my best friend, I lost her, Polly Noble, her name was. We lived together. We were like soul sisters, and you have your real family, and then you have your family that you pick as well. And again, I remember she said to me right towards the end, she said, I just don't, she goes, why do you think this is my path? Why do you think this is my path, Kathryn? I just don't. She didn't, it was so hard for her. And I said, I can't answer that question for you, but look what you've done while you were here. She did a lot of healthy, she was a raw foodie, and she created a lot of change with her life. But I would say, if you're going through something like that and you're losing somebody that you love, first of all, know they will be okay, because they're going somewhere that they're going to really, really like. It's us that are stuck down here that are left with the sadness. So have peace in that they're going on a journey that they are meant to be going on. And it's the path that's been chosen for them, or they possibly chose for themselves. So you have to have peace in that. That's what I would say. But also just be there with them. And don't be sad. They don't want you turning up feeling sad and sorry. And, I think with Polly, we spoke about it 3 or 4 times. And the rest of it, we just had fun. And we hung out, and we did the best that we could with the time that we had left. And so that's what I would say. Hold someone's hand, give them faith, let them know that something wonderful is waiting for them, and find peace in yourself, and know that it's the journey that they need to go on. Meditate about it, pray about it, and just know, again, I'll say it again because I think it's important, whatever you go through, wherever you're going, you will be okay. I promise you. And as hard as it is, I'm going through it right now with my mum. My mum is my best friend. She's the best mum anyone could ever have. I know we all say that, but she really absolutely was. She gave her whole life up for me and my brothers and sisters. And I'm going to miss her terribly. And part of her has already gone because she's got brain cancer. But I'm not going to focus on losing her and where she's going. I focus on how grateful I am for the person that I had. And thank goodness that I've experienced that intense love, and I had that from her, and that although grief is sad, I know that I've had that love. So I would say focus on the good, be grateful for what you've had, and try and find the happiness while you're in that situation, because you can. And I know you can, because I have, and I am.
That's right. Gratitude truly matters.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
earlier you mentioned loneliness. What if someone is alone or they feel alone? What message do you have for them, Kathryn?
Do you know what? Loneliness is probably one of the worst feelings in the world. And I know it because I've experienced it. And as I was saying to you earlier, you know, I was always at school, I was always like, oh, I had loads of friends, and I was from a massive family. And my job was, I was a TV host for a long time. So I was constantly bouncing around different TV studios, and it was all great. Never experienced people not even really liking me until I came and I moved to America. And that's not because I'd moved to America. It was just I'd come away from all of my support networks and had to be fresh and brand new. And that was hard. And loneliness is so difficult. And again, you have to look at yourself, because at the beginning I didn't make friends, and I was like, why don't these people like me? What is it? And, you know, and I realized that's why all my energy's off. The way that I'm presenting myself, I was coming to people as if to say, ta-da, I'm here, like, hello. And that was completely wrong. You need to look at yourself and think energetically, right, well, here I am. I'm now on somebody else's turf. I wanted to make friends, and I made a conscious effort. And the second I changed my energy, and I stopped feeling sorry for myself about it, I stopped thinking, why me? I prayed about it. I did affirmations about it. I looked at myself and I'd be like, today you are going to make a friend. Tomorrow you're going to make a friend for life. Or tomorrow you're just going to have a conversation with somebody. I started introducing all of these things in my life. Friendships became abundant, and I have a great network of people here now. In fact, tomorrow I'm off to a Thanksgiving with probably around about 50 friends, great friends that I've made here. So if you're feeling lonely, I know how bad that feels. It's a terrible feeling, and you shouldn't feel bad for feeling so horrible about it. I remember my mum saying to me once she felt lonely when she was younger, and I was like, lonely? I didn't even understand the concept of lonely. But when you have it can make you feel terribly, desperately, almost depressed and isolated. So just reach out again, talk to people, smile. That makes me go and connect with people, and don't feel that you're the odd one out. And I felt like the odd one out for so long. I just thought, well, I am a bit different from these people, but that's okay, because there's always a common ground, because people are human at the end of the day, and we want connection. And the second I changed that, it made a huge difference. And talk to people. Don't be frightened to, do you want to go out for a coffee? Or if you're a child, you know, go up into the playground, because we're all experiencing all sorts of things. And just talk. Talking's great.
That's right. And as Joshua 1:9 states, haven't I commanded you be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid or discouraged, for your Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Therefore, you're not alone. Great point there, Kathryn. Now, what would you say to someone who's experiencing heartbreak?
Oh, heartbreak, another horrible situation that I have also experienced. You see, I always love when I have these conversations, because it reminds me that my sadness was for purpose. So when I went through a terrible heartbreak, and what happened to me, it was a boyfriend of mine who I decided didn't give me enough attention. So I left him knowing that I wanted to marry him, but I thought I'd go off and teach him a lesson and then come back about a year later. And I remember traveling to see him, to give him the great news that he was going to be allowed back in my life again. This is a much younger version of myself, by the way. And he'd fallen in love with somebody else. And I was like, what do you mean? And I didn't compute. And it absolutely, completely, it broke my heart. And heartbreak is like grief. Like, you actually physically lose somebody out of your life. You lose them, you lose the family that they're attached to. So it is really a grieving that you have to go through. So again, you know, depending on whatever the heartbreak, that was my story. And you know, I gave my own self heartbreak, which was very difficult to deal with. But the only way that you can get over that is not to just go and find somebody else. That's not good advice, because you will experience the same things again, because you haven't learned your lesson, because we're here to learn lessons, right? So I went and looked at myself and looked at why I thought it was okay to treat him like that, and how I now was going to deal with my heartbreak. And again, it became all about self-love and having love for yourself and looking at yourself. Meditation was a great place for me to start, making myself feel good about myself, because again, when you get heartbroken, you sort of think it's your fault. I mean, my situation was a bit different, although it was my fault because I'd actually done it to myself. So really it's almost looking at that and thinking, right, how can I step forward now and deal with this heartbreak? How do I get over this? One of the first things that I would give to somebody, if you're experiencing that, and if you've had somebody that you love that's taken themselves away from you, is write a letter to them. Right, not to send it to them, but get all of those feelings out, all of those emotions out about how you feel, and burn it and send it up with a prayer. That's one of my first things that I would do. And then I would look at how you can have that self-love for yourself as well, and start again using all of these modalities. Don't turn to something that's going to make yourself feel better, like a liter of ice cream in front of your favorite movie that makes you cry. Turn to something that's going to be a healthy alternative for you. Go and try and find a hobby. Fill your time, the time that you spent with them, go and fill your time with something great. Yoga, read a book, meditate, go and look at the power of energy and how you can affect and change the way that you are. And they're my biggest tools. But again, heartbreak is something that we have to experience to get through and overcome, so that we can become whole. I believe that's really what I think. I now understand why I had to experience that, so I could see how to overcome it, and absolutely never do it to anybody else, because I broke his heart, and in turn I broke my own heart at the same time.
Very powerful message. Now, Kathryn, how important is it for folks to continue to learn?
Oh, you never stop learning. You learn every single day. Like, there's no, that's why even with my guidebook, I wanted, I felt like I had all this knowledge and experience, but still I felt there's always more. There's always more. It doesn't matter whatever you're doing. Even if you spent your whole life studying just one subject, there's still somebody else that can teach you something else. My daughter teaches me stuff. She's 8. She teaches me stuff all the time. She has a very interesting view on the world, and it's just viewing things from different perspectives. So never be afraid to say that you don't understand something. I think that's a big thing that comes with age. You sort of care less and less what people think. So if somebody says something you don't understand, oh, can you explain that to me? That's a great thing. And always be willing to learn, and don't be arrogant to think that you know everything about anything, because somebody will come along and know twice as much as you and floor you. So always be curious and excited and have a thirst for more knowledge, which is why, even though I've written this book and I've studied it, I studied book after book after book after course after course. I did everything I could, but I would still encourage, I still buy books on the subject because I'm still learning, because I love it so much.
That's right. When we continue to learn, we continue to grow. Now, Kathryn,
Yes.
Thank you for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast and acknowledging the holidays here. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
And now, Kathryn, what is your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
Just be authentic and true to yourself. Like, don't get caught up in things that you don't want to get caught up in. Like, be the person that you want to be. That's my best advice. And always try. My dad always said, whatever you do in life, do it with a smile. If somebody asks you to do something and you don't really want to do it, as long as it's something that's, it's something that's healthy and something that's going to be really positive, always try and go in with a good attitude. One of my very first job, I worked in a studio and I had to make tea and sweep the floors, but I did it with a smile. and you get noticed in life like that. So live the life that you want to live, and even if it's a bit quirky and a bit different and not what the norm is, there is no normal. I'll just tell you that. There is no one normal. We're all weirdos. We've all got different passions. We've all got different loves, and that's okay. Just because it isn't your friend's love, it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be yours. So live your life with your purpose, because you're here for a reason. And if you don't, then you have to come back again and do it again.
I love it. Do everything with a smile. Very powerful message. Now, Kathryn, where can the audience find you?
Yes, I'm at fairyclub.love/happy. if you go there, you can find me. There's tons of things that I'm doing. I've got my guidebook there, but there's all sorts of things. I've got other books coming out. I've got a TV show that's in development at the moment, which is going to be really powerful. And yeah, you can find me there.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Kathryn on all of her social media platforms and also on her website. Kathryn, thank you for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Lots
welcome.
of love.
God bless.
Bye-bye.